All right, so what we're going to do is jump right into the Nasdaq 100 and the SP 500, going over exactly where we are and how we are moving right now based on supply and demand, as well as the fundamentals combined with this as well. And we have a lot to cover. We talked about how we entered shorts up here at supply. I showed you my positions, and we've gone a long way since then. So we need to break down where we're going from here. Are we going to break below these lows that we had established down here? And ultimately, what is next? Now, before we get into that, to ask you to consider doing two things: liking and subscribing every single day. I'm keeping you up to date so you are prepared and you understand what's happening in the market for the following day, and you're never taken by surprise. Literally, every single day, I'm making these videos for you, the trader. Yesterday, I talked about what was going to happen today, and then I kind of broke it down trade by trade as well. What were we trading going into today? That's what I want to talk about first. First thing is going to be Meta. I'm going to go into the indexes as well, but I just want to show you what I was looking at. We were up here at supply. We rejected once again, gapping down, ultimately making new lows. Those trades over 100%. I got out roughly at 65%, even though I had some time lows, left a few runners, but overall was a great trade. And now you're breaking down two new 52-week lows. Next up, SPY. We've been talking heavily about November 18th puts, and I'm just going to go into why these were so awesome. It's because they continue to hold value even when you press two new highs, but ultimately getting rejected once again at supply again and again. Those previous highs you had back from May, right? So these are all things you need to be looking at, and now you're breaking back down once again, getting back to these lows. So there's a lot to cover when it comes to indexes, and there's going to be some news coming out next week as well, specifically CPI. Now, I have a lot to talk about with inflation and how we are moving and ultimately the direction in which I see us going, but I want to break this down just on the time frame for today and then going into next week. Now, the first thing I want to talk about was really kind of on a higher time frame, right? So when you actually came into this level, what were we talking about yesterday? You were moving up, but you were moving up with declining volume, right? So if we go over to the S&P and look at the average volume, this is going to get to around 90 million today on the after hours, but you can see they were declining in volume, right? So the days before that, we were increasing, and then as we started to move back to the upside, you were decreasing in volume, okay? Now, today, again, I'm doing this video a little bit late or a little bit early, so I'm not going to get all the data that we can get, and I'll cover more on Sunday as well. But you can see the volume's picking back up, getting back to where it was near the end of the day, but it's not pumping yet. It's not there yet, so I don't think we had our decisive move yet. I want to make that really clear. Now, if we get a break below these lows, so hypothetically going into Monday, if you break down like this with increased volume, in my opinion, that is your confirmed move. If we start to push back up with increased volume, then that's kind of your confirmed move, and I'd be aiming for another retest of 11.7, but we're not there yet. I'm going to go over more of what I'm looking at here as well. Now, the more we look at some of the big data and the key signals that have triggered us to be so bearish, the more that we can see that no decision has been made yet. Specifically with VIX. VIX, once again, it was trending here at 28, which was really strange. Even with that pump up, you were kind of getting a bull flag of sorts here as well. You can kind of see that forming there. And now we're pushing back up. But it's worth mentioning, even with all this volatility today, VIX is still, not that high. Yeah, it made a move up, but it didn't really make the big move that it has been making. Really, if you go back to previous move to where you just slingshot towards the upside, you're not really getting that yet. You're getting some volatility, but you're not getting that next level move that you would kind of expect on a big breakout. Okay, I want to highlight that. Number two, DXY. Again, this is one of the really big factors here of all these key levels we marked. And again, if you're not following us on Twitter, I recommend doing so because I'm trying to keep you guys updated as well on there, especially if you're not in Discord. So if you're on Twitter, you're going to get my updates as well. But look, you're mounting all these levels over and over. And we know DXY is one of the biggest indicators on risk off and risk on the market, right? And so you're mounting again, pushing back up. Ultimately, this is looking like what? It's looking like a continuation pattern, another bull flag formed here on DXY, and you're pushing back up to the upside with a lot of violence. Okay, so this is what we're looking at. These are kind of my concerns on the market. One, DXY continues to ramp up. VIX is still sitting above $31, which is very bearish. So those have me concerned. Now, the reason why I don't think we had a big move is because one, or a decision move, right, to either very bearish or, bouncing back up is because VIX is definitely sitting in this range. And then as well as the volume as well. We have not had the big breakout volume. And you can see once again what's happening here. You're coming right back down to June lows. Again, if we go back to the 1-day chart, look real quick here at Nasdaq, you're bouncing right there again at June lows. Okay. You're right there. Once again, that's where you're settling at. And it's interesting how we're going into next week. Now we need to understand some things that happened on the day. We know one, that now they're pricing in a 75-point BPS hike for the next Fed meeting. Okay, so we know that the 75-point hike most likely is coming once again. Number two, we also have to understand that they said they're not going to be cutting rates at all for next year and that they've already started the restrictive easing on the market. So these are all things that we've seen happening. These are all kind of bearish news, but you still are not breaking these big levels here. Now, something I was talking about with Jay Ream earlier, the guy who runs Discord with me, basically the partner here, and we're talking about this. You got your test once again at this level, and really this is like the make or break point for SPY in my opinion. We've kind of been here for like almost 2 weeks now. The question is are you going to break below, get the retest and go down, or are you going to bounce again here? If you bounce again here, you look pretty decent. I'm not going to lie. If you bounce here, you have to say, wow, this is surprising. Now, again, for me, I don't think a low has been established on the Nasdaq and SPY yet, but looking at the TA, looking at these key levels, I have to remain unbiased, even though I am bearish, right? I view the market going down, right? I am anticipating basically a retest, and I've been saying this for some time, of pre-COVID highs. That's ultimately my short-term target or minimum target here. I have to say, you're still respecting this level, and buyers appear to be showing up here once again. Okay. Now, again, that doesn't change all the bearish factors you have surrounding the market right now. Next up, I want to talk about the big six, right? Apple, Microsoft, Nvidia, Google, Amazon, Tesla. You just broke back below your June lows right here, right? Boom, breaking down below. Now, a big thing I want to highlight here is that Tesla is one of the biggest things drawing this down with kind of some of the news that they've had being released. Also, semiconductors are getting railed. So you can kind of tinker this if you want, but these have been like some of my favorite, my big known names that were very bullish during 2020 through 2021. So I like to look at how the market's moving based on these as well, right? You can use SPY, you can use other things like that. I just like to make my own mini little ETF and look at how the market's moving based on the biggest names here. AMD getting shredded. I anticipate a bounce relatively soon, but it's just not happening yet, right? So these are things I'm looking at right now that have me extremely, extremely concerned at a broad-based market. Next up, look at yields, right? And I know we're trying to do a broad-based cover of everything here before I give you, what I expect into the next week. But look here, yields, once again, you're back inverted, you're pushing up violently. And again, if you don't know, this has been one of the key signals for a recession, and you're higher than you were in 2018. You're higher than you were during the housing bubble. You're higher than you were during the dot-com bubble, okay? And these yields look like they don't want to stop, okay? And we're not going to get any help with these bonds here as well. We're not going to get any help there. You need to understand that Europe got a little bit of help, but the United States is not going to be helped there. That's why we saw the euro once again. Look what's happening here. You saw them try to help you at the end of last week, beginning of this week, and we saw the euro kind of bounce here. And now it's pushing right back down because the dollar is king right now. And the dollar's just going straight parabolic, and it's continuing to happen here. So these are things that I love to see here, and these are things that I'm going to be very aware of. Okay, now as we get back into indexes going into this, now again, purely based on supply and demand, technicals, the end, right? What am I looking at here? If I throw volume out the window and I'm just looking, I am not wanting to go short here, right? Now, if you have shorts established up here where we were originally getting in, then you're okay. You can have some runners. You can, play the market like that. But I am never looking to enter puts at lows, right? Like I'm never entering to enter calls at the highs. That's just not smart risk to reward, right? So just giving you a food for thought. If I enter a put at this level, right at the, entry level of that supply level, and I have a, stop loss above this, and ultimately my first target's down here, and then my second target, if I do the identical trade, we'll put it right there as well. Let me just do that. I accidentally did a buy. So this is for shorting. Just to give you food for thought, look at the risk to reward here. You have a 2.73, which means your reward is 2.7 times that of your risk. And you have a 5R trade here as well, which is almost 5 times what you're risking. So I'm risking this much, but I'm willing to gain this much. This is the basis of trading, making sure your risk to reward is defined clearly. So this is why I'm always trying to enter at the highs, having a plan, averaging in, and having the plan set over and over. And that's why I'm trying to break this down to you guys as well, giving you what I see on the market, but also educating you on how I'm taking these trades, what I'm looking for, and everything in between. So you don't have to be dependent, or you don't even have to join the Discord. You can do these for yourself and get educated so you can be an independent trader out there as well. So looking at that, that's what we're seeing. So ultimately, we're hitting my target. I'm out of a majority of all my puts just because I'm not going to be betting on this right now. However, I do have one trade, and I just want to highlight, just showing you guys what I was saying earlier. I said literally today at around 12:20, pretty much out of all my puts, made a lot of money. Be careful on the way down. I ended up getting a position. I'll go into that in a second. You saw Meta go crazy. You saw Oxy go crazy. We saw everything we're talking about, oil, etc. Everything went nuts. Okay, now getting back in here. Also, I do want to highlight Jay Ream's trade. I never want to not show Jay Ream love. Look at Jay Ream. He had AMD puts. Those are up over 200%. Nvidia, he got those yesterday, middle of the day, give or take, for around $9. They went over $15. He had a trailing stop there as well. So this is ultimately what we were trading over the past day or so. And as we look at this, I want to talk about oil, because this is probably the safest area in the market for myself as I view this. Okay, oil, the barrel, what's happened here? And this is kind of where I'm going to leave the video. I'll have more stock stuff going in on Sunday. But as we look at this, I wanted to highlight what I talked about yesterday. Okay. Everyone's always asking about a bear trap, this and that, this and that. And it's kind of, I hate looking at social media because people lie to you. It's just a fact of the matter. They don't really know what they're talking about. But I want to show you a perfect instance of a bear trap. Okay, so a bear trap is you have a key area that you're watching, a key support, which you were bouncing here over and over. And then you get a breakdown, and then you quickly bounce right back through that key area. That's a trap, okay? It'd be the same thing if it was inverted, right? It'd be the same exact thing for a bull trap, but just the chart would be inverted, right? Now, as we look here, you are pushing through this. Why are you pushing this? Because the OPEC Plus meeting, because the United States can't keep producing more barrels out of the strategic reserves, and OPEC, like we've been talking about for months here, we were waiting for the opportunity. I told everyone here before I even entered the play, right? I want to make sure that's transparently clear. People were saying that I'm trying to, shill people into my Discord. No, I provide so much free content here. As long as you listen and pay attention. I told everyone this was the play here after the OPEC meeting, because they cut the production by 2 million barrels a day. Now look, you're pushing up and there's no sign of slowdown. You have America talking about maybe banning exports. I don't know if that's going to happen. That'd be pretty wild if it did happen, but it would still cause significant problems. Okay, because we already have major shutdowns going across the US basically until winter's end right now, looking at Exxon and some of the other big names as well. Now, as we look at these going into Oxy, one of our favorite plays. Why do we love Oxy? Few reasons. One, and I do want to highlight, people are going to say, oh, this looks like a head and shoulders. You got your shoulder, head and shoulder. I don't think so. Do whatever you want. This is just my opinion, how I'm looking at the market. Again, do whatever you got to do, right? So as I look at this, I was pretty much just waiting all day for a pullback, and you finally got it near the end of the day. So I started my position, right? So I started buying this. I wanted to see it hold around the $70, $69 area. This basic area had about right here, and you really did hold that area. Same thing with Exxon, the $100 area. You bounced almost to a T at $100, and you're looking to start bouncing once again. So as we look at this, oil continues to move up. And ultimately what you wanted to see with oil was a disconnect from the stock market. What does that mean? I wanted to see oil hold its ground even when the SPY, even when Qs, even when Nasdaq dipped, okay? I wanted to see strength on that side of the market. And now we are seeing it. So what does that tell me? I believe the barrel is probably the strongest thing on the broad scale market right now. I told people last year, and I'm telling you again, the only hedge on inflation is what, people? Is it gold? Is it silver? You can do those things, but if you look at the chart, it's clear and it's evident. The only thing that's really retained its value through this inflation period is oil. The end. That's why oil companies are sitting at all-time highs and everything else is getting railed. That's what we're looking at. Again, this is a non-biased channel. And again, maybe I'm a little biased because I have a position in it and I just opened it, but I've been telling you guys the same thing since the beginning, even when I didn't have a position. So as we look here, I still love oil and I love what it's doing here. Now, I want to highlight that you may get a retest of the $89 level. I want to highlight that right now for you. You could do that. However, I'm getting date on my position, so I can still remain safe. But I do believe you're going to get news in the coming future as well very soon that Buffett's buying more Oxy if he hasn't already. You're going to see that news most likely, in my opinion, very near-term future. Okay, now wrapping up the video, going over some of this option flow. I know a lot of you guys want to see this. USO, I'm going to cover oil, then I'm going to cover the SPY as well. So one, Exxon. I still love what's happening here. You're going to see some puts coming in as well, but I still believe, again, heaviest orders are to the upside. Okay, looking at USO, the barrel. This is a best tracker of the barrel if you're trading a stock, right? Very bullish. Oxy, this is my favorite one. A lot of big orders towards the upside as well. You see puts coming in, but they're a lot smaller than the big orders coming into the call side. Now let's look at the indexes. SPY, very bearish. Obviously, we didn't really expect anything less than this. Qs, you saw some block orders, but these are all, in my opinion, more of hedges because they're giving you a lot of time. And I do expect, I want this to be very clear. I want this to be extremely, extremely clear. Hypothetically, if we dip down, I want to make this really, really clear so no one twists up this video or anything like that. If you dip down, I totally expect a strong bounce right back up. Does that mean you're done? No. But I want to make it very clear that you're going to get these big rallies like we just had, basically from June all the way back into August, right? It was down, straight back up. Same thing back here in March. From March here, remember that rally. It's going to happen over and over. These are going to continue to happen. So you just have to be prepared with the price action, with supply and demand as well. That's why I'm trying to break this down for you guys as simply as possible. Have a good one, traders.